So we're almost exactly 1 month away from the 5-year anniversary of Grand Theft Auto Online, and I saw this post on the GTA forum site by a user 555WeTip that was, it's October 2013 again. And essentially, it's a thread discussing the things that you used to do on day one or maybe in month one that for whatever reason, whether it was because Rockstar have removed this feature or it's become obsolete, you don't do them anymore. And that's what I want to discuss with you guys in this video today. So I think it would be awesome if you got involved in the comments section down below. Essentially, what are some things you used to do in October 2013 that you don't do now in nearly October 2018? So let's talk about that, and I'm going to be reading some of the more interesting things that I've seen so far. For me, the first big thing I did a lot of was contact missions, whether it was from Gerald or Martin Madrazo or Simeon. I used to do those contact missions non-stop. Now, back in the day and in 2013, number one, Rockstar had the payouts a lot higher for the contact missions. So they were actually a great way to make money back in the day. And number two, you could put them in playlists, so you could do them back to back to back, and you could also replay them. So it was a great way to avoid loading screens, not have to worry about jumping from lobby to lobby. Unfortunately, you can't do that nowadays. So contact missions for me have sort of become obsolete, but I used to do them non-stop back in the day. Another thing I did a lot was land races, like normal land races, like the Grand Tour, business trip, stuff like that. I hardly ever do land races anymore. And it's because just number one, after you do so many, I'm pretty sure I've done like 2,000 land races in my lifetime. And also the payouts are not that great. They used to be a lot better back in the earlier parts of Grand Theft Auto Online. Another thing I remember doing with the land races is doing criminal records, which is that really short race around the prison. I remember doing that just a million times so that I could unlock all the upgrades for my vehicles. That was something I did because remember, in the beginning, you don't have everything unlocked for your vehicles. Like you have to win a certain number of land races or participate in a certain number before you can unlock stuff like that. So I did criminal records a ton just to get all those upgrades done. Another thing I did a lot of back in the day that I really don't do now is making money in free roam. Now, some of this is because I just don't do them anymore. Some of it is because Rockstar has removed that content. So, for example, going into the convenience stores or liquor stores, I would go into those like all around the map, just getting my $3,000 or $4,000 from the store clerk. I would also chase those money trucks around the map, which obviously are not around anymore. I would also hunt crate drops, which are not around anymore. Now, Rockstar has sort of added their own version back into the game, like what we've seen recently with business battles, and that's a ton of fun. You'll see like on a lot of my gameplay that I am just participating in those nonstop because I think that's some of the best things that they've added are those business battles. But back in the day, I used to really take advantage of like the Simeon cars and all the crate drops and money trucks that Rockstar would do. So I did a lot of stuff in free roam, not necessarily a lot of that anymore. I remember something I used to do a lot, and that was try and infiltrate Fort Zancudo. And I guess because at the time, that was the only way in which you could get a fighter jet, and it was also one of the only restricted areas in the game, so it was kind of cool to go in there and check out. Now, of course, we have hangars located in there. There's missions that take place around there, and we can obviously spawn in our own fighter jets, but I remember just using that ramp on the highway, trying to like jump myself into Fort Zancudo, getting a fighter jet. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. And obviously that was at a time when a lot of people were still focused on the mystery of, what Fort Zancudo might possibly be hiding and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. Another thing I used to do back in the day was mess with people and pick fights with people at the Los Santos Custom Shop. Back in the day in October in 2013, there was no biker clubhouse. There was no office garage. There was no facility. If you upgraded a vehicle, it was done at a Los Santos Custom Shop. Again, there was no Avenger, no MOC. So the LSC was always busy. Every second there was a new car coming in and out. So you'd have a ton of fights happen at the Los Santos Custom Shop and stuff that you really just don't see today because people are upgrading their cars indoors or doing it at an Avenger, stuff like that. Another thing I did back in the day, and I actually made a video on this back in 2013, was doing survivals for free guns, money, and ammo. So the way survivals worked back in the day is any guns and ammo you picked up during the survival, you would take back to free roam, which would save you a ton. And it was also a way in which you could unlock weapons that you hadn't unlocked yet. Like, for example, I think the pump shotgun was level 17. So if you weren't level 17, but you did a survival, you could get yourself a pump shotgun without meeting the requirements. So again, that's pretty cool right there. It's just one of those things that I used to do. I haven't done a survival in probably 4.5 years. Like, to be totally honest with you, I can't tell you the last time I'd even attempted something like that. But the survivals and doing little, workarounds like that was always my go-to. Something that was insane back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember this, but every time you died, it cost you $5,000. That is a ton of money. Now it's $500, so it's only 10% of that. But man, back in the day when you died, it was a huge deal. And I actually think it would make free roam a little bit better now. I think you'd have less aggression in the lobbies because losing $5,000 once doesn't sound like a horrible idea. But if you die 100 times, man, does that really start to add up? You're looking at $500,000 worth of just death money right there. So I remember back in the day, it made lobbies a lot more peaceful because no one wanted to lose $5,000, and I don't blame them either. Another thing I remember about October 2013, getting into North Yankton. So I remember when the North Yankton glitch was still around and you could go up there and explore with friends and whatnot. I still think this is something Rockstar should allow. I get it though, because North Yankton is super incomplete. There's like glitches everywhere and you can fall through the map. But I remember going up there and like celebrating Christmas time. It was so cool. So obviously going up to North Yankton was an awesome experience. Something else I remember doing was getting quote unquote illegal cars into your garage. So back in the day when we didn't have like the Duke of Death available, when Franklin's Buffalo S was outlawed, when that wasn't allowed, spawning those vehicles in from single player, getting them into online, putting them in your garage, man, that was a real fun time. Now a lot of those vehicles are becoming available on the in-game websites, and even with the After Hours update, we're starting to see that more. Vehicles that are still in online but are only available to spawn in free roam are now getting put to the website. So we're seeing Rockstar do that more and more, but back in the day in 2013, it was so much fun to try and get single-player vehicles into online. Something I can appreciate from back in the day is a lack of phone calls from really anyone other than Simeon. Now we've got phone calls from Ron, Agent 14, Paige, Lester, Gerald, just, everyone calls us nonstop. So it was much more peaceful back in the day as far as people ringing up our phones. Speaking of peaceful, lobbies seem to be a lot more peaceful. I remember when the Rhino was like the go-to weaponized vehicle. And if you saw a Rhino, like that was a big deal because that was the most powerful weaponized vehicle in the game at the time. And you had to obviously deal with that, trying sniping them out. I mean, it was pretty crazy when you saw a Rhino in a lobby back in 2013. A few other things I remember doing, always being jealous of the guy that had the Adder, because back in the day, that was the most expensive vehicle at $1 million. And I never really had like a free $1 million to spend on a supercar. So I always remember being super jealous of that and trying to make that my ultimate goal of, trying to get the Adder. And then, of course, the billionaire days rolled around where you had people with multi-billions of dollars duplicating cars and stuff like that. So I think I eventually got one that way. I'm really not too sure. But that was back in the day when like the Adder was the go-to car. That was like the pinnacle of vehicles that you could ultimately get. Who could forget the tutorial the first time you arrived in Los Santos? I remember having the single hardest time trying to complete this because I tried to get on day one. The servers were completely overwhelmed. And because of that, I literally couldn't play for like 2 days because I couldn't get through the tutorial. It would always lag out. So hopefully Rockstar learned their lesson and we don't see anything like that in Red Dead Redemption 2. Or if we do, hopefully their servers are a little bit better and we won't have to worry about the game just totally crashing like every second. Something else I remember was a lot of fun was getting inside of single player locations, like going inside Franklin's house or going inside Michael's house. That was really cool to do back in the day, like in 2013, before we had a lot of the interiors that we had right now. It was just pretty awesome. I remember doing all sorts of glitches where you would like lean up against different walls and then go into different contact missions. And then when you loaded back into free roam, you'd be inside Franklin's house. Just doing stuff like that, it was a ton of fun. But anyways, that right there is reminiscing and looking back at some things we used to do in Grand Theft Auto Online in October 2013 and things we just simply don't do anymore now in October 2018. So like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. What are some things you used to do back in the day if you were playing in October 2013? And again, I don't know how many people are watching this video that were around back in the day. It's probably a pretty small portion because it was 5 years ago. But if you were around back then, let me know what you were doing in the comments down below and what you're not doing now. If you did go on to enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new. You like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.